Good afternoon, everyone. If the wind happens to take my remarks and send them off, we'll just go straight to the unveiling, okay? My name's John Highbush. I have the honor of being the Executive Director of the Ronald Reagan Presidential Foundation. Welcome this afternoon. As these horses behind me get into position, it's probably a good time to say that I often heard that President Reagan used to say that there is nothing as good for the inside of a man as the outside of a horse. So it is fitting that we unveil this new statue known as Along the Trail, which truly embodies President Reagan's American values and the spirit of the West. In keeping with that theme, we are honored today to have Wyatt McCrae, Ralph Kelly, and Lincoln Logeson as part of the ceremony. The three of them have a long history with the Rancheros Visitadores, and today are representing them as they carry the American flag on behalf of President Reagan, who was a member of the Adolfo camp in the Rancheros organization. We are also pleased to have Allie Hepps with us to sing one of the beautiful and most favorite of President Reagan's songs, America the Beautiful. Most recently, Allie sang here at the Republican presidential candidates debate and is well on her way toward her career as a professional singer. As an aside, Allie's father is here. Dr. Hepps, where are you, Dr. Hepps? Right here? Dr. Hepps helped save my life. So with that, let's turn to Allie for her song. Thank you.
Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountain majesties above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed his grace on thee and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. From sea to shining sea.
Thank you, Allie. That was just terrific. We're especially privileged to have with us today our first speaker. He is not only a member of our board of trustees at the Reagan Foundation, but a good friend of Ronald and Nancy Reagan's, who was also California's governor and great United States Senator. Ladies and gentlemen, if you would, please join me in welcoming to the stage Governor Pete Wilson.
Well, thank you, John. My pleasant duty today is to remind those of you here of something that I think many of you have already strongly in mind. Ronald Reagan, like so many Californians, adoptive Californians, was actually born in the Midwest, in the state of Illinois, as was I. We were both smart enough to come to California. So the other thing is that you are all well acquainted with the extraordinary performance that he gave, not only as the governor of California, but as the President of the United States, So let me tell you something about this statue. In a moment, it will be unveiled. You will see the handsome likeness. It is not just a handsome likeness. It shows a man on horseback. You can make many metaphors from that itself. But the fact of the matter is, Ronald Reagan really became a man of the West. Yes, he represented all of us all over the country, a larger constituency even than that. But essentially, he was a man of the West. And one of the two things that is inside the statue, not what you will be able to see, one is one of his belts that he wore while working, as he did. It was his favorite thing to be able to go up to Rancho del Cielo, his place up there in the hills behind Santa Barbara, work on his ranch. This belt has the initials RR on it. That's the first thing. It signifies his great affection, not only for his ranch, but for a style of life that he thought typically American and worth persisting in. The other is, of course, you might have guessed it, a piece of the Berlin Wall. The Berlin Wall, I think, became a symbol of tyranny, of the lack of freedom of those who were held within its bounds. The man who brought it down, the man who said to Premier Gorbachev, Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall, was a man who believed that that had to happen and that we would make it happen by continuing to press for its destruction and for the liberation of the people who were kept prisoners behind it. Along with some other trustees, at the centennial of his birth, we made a quick trip through the European countries, specifically the former captive nations. Let me assure you, the people there knew to whom they were indebted for their freedom. It was Ronald Reagan. So appropriately out of sight, but within the statue, is a piece of that wall that he made possible to come down. So thank you for being here today. It's my pleasure to be with you and share a couple of tidbits about the man who was my hero, and I think for many of you as well. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Governor Wilson. As President Reagan would have wanted it, no taxpayer dollars, not a penny, are being used for any of the projects or programs here at the library which bears his name, and the statue project was no different. With us today is Diane Hendricks, the woman who spearheaded this entire project and made it possible for the horse and the man to be depicted in bronze. We also want to thank the following donors, many of whom are present here today for the ceremony. If you would, I'd like to read that list and then hold your applause at the end. Jane and Bert Bachman, the Lynd and Harry Bradley Foundation, John and Murph Burke, the J.P. Humphreys family, David Allen and Terry Lynn Luck, James L. and Nancy J. Packard, Keith and Peg Burns, Brent and Celeste Fox, John and Carol Harris, Kim Hendricks, Ted and Mary Kellner, Keith and Linda Rosales, Michael and Kendra Story, and Johnny and Pam Zamsrla. Before we move on, I'd like to ask Diane, a remarkably talented businesswoman and philanthropist who has changed the lives of many across this country, and one of our dear friends, to say a few words. We were so fortunate to partner with Diane, who is the chairman and owner of ABC Supply Company, which she and her late husband, Kenneth, founded in 1982. Diane is well known for her love of our country and of our freedom and of her respect for President Reagan. We are eternally grateful for her dedication to this statue, as well as the Reagan Library. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm welcome to Diane Hendricks.
As you can see, I love this man. I love what he stands for. I love what everybody in this audience today stands for. It's a privilege to live in America. It was a privilege for me to be invited to come out here and be involved in the Reagan Library Museum. And it's a privilege that I have such friends and family that all helped to make this possible. I thank all of you so very much. And I am so anxious to see this beautiful piece of art done by this unbelievable artist. Unbelievable work that he has created. This is beautiful. Thank you all.
Thanks, Diane. And now, before we unveil this spectacular piece, it gives me great pleasure to introduce the sculptor who produced it. He's here with us with his two strongest supporters, his wife Linda and daughter Kylie, and a number of other family and friends. Don Reed has nearly 50 years of experience and expertise in the world of fine art. He told me that he considers this statue his magnum opus. Depicting President Reagan astride his favorite horse, El Alamein, this heroic piece stands over 11 feet high, weighs over 2,500 pounds, and took close to 10,000 hours to complete. To make the sculpture even more special, as Governor Wilson has said, President Reagan's belt buckle and a piece of the Berlin Wall were placed inside the horse within a fireproof security box. Along the trail demonstrates Don's incomparable ability to capture movement, likeness, and character in his sculptures and metalwork. Having been given a sneak peek the other day, I am looking forward to having this statue unveiled. But first, I'd like to ask Don Reed to say a few words. Don?
Thanks so much, John, Governor, Diane. It's a true privilege to be here. I spent yesterday, actually 2 weeks here, setting up and unpacking from the Midwest. We live in Wisconsin in the middle of the cold spell, and the least attractive time to ship a piece like this across the country when there's only 2 inches to spare on the top. I did want to mention that being here last night was the first time I actually saw the piece in the afternoon light. I'd seen it last week at 7 o'clock in the morning, and I thought, well, it might be okay. And 7 o'clock last night, John Laney, who's hiding very discreetly behind the statue and has helped me throughout all of this to put and maintain and hold things together, and it's awfully difficult right now for him to do so, so I'll try and be brief. I'd like to welcome everybody and thank you so much for coming. I've got friends here, colleagues, some of my schoolmates from Thatcher, which is, I think, kind of over there. I'm not used to the fact that the sun rises over the ocean in the east here, and you look out to the west. Fortunately for John's guidance, John Highbush's guidance in all of this, the president's facing west. He is the Western man. And he looks pretty good in the afternoon. I'm stunned and surprised. We've done him entirely inside of a factory over the last couple of years, and it's taken 4 years almost entirely to do this. It wasn't in the plan. Art is rarely revealed before its time. So you just have to be patient. Everybody's been pretty patient with me, and I apologize to the donors and everybody else that it's taken a little longer. I had a damaging arm and hand accident last year that made finishing the project very difficult. And I'm a very persistent and persnickety, I guess would be the word that comes to my mind, about everything that transpires in this process. What routinely happens is artists will come to the foundry for translation of their work, and the foundry will then spit it out, and the artist has to take what he gets or she gets. In this case, for 4 generations, my daughter is the 4th, I'm just the 3rd. We've been in the foundry business, and it's been a true privilege to see the transition from iron to bronze and silver and gold, the last of the bastions of manufacture left to the art casters or the casters of America. We've driven so much of that overseas and so forth. So from true industry has come true art, and I've controlled absolutely everything I could possibly control from start to finish. But there's some random factors thrown into this whole process. It's kind of Diane's fault for doing this. She's taken over ownership of the River's Edge Foundry, which I started with my father a long time ago. And we've proceeded along to take on some of the jobs that I just imagined. Along the trail is the successor to the earlier version, which is in the Illinois town where President Reagan grew up. It's called Begins the Trail. So along the trail comes along 25 years later, and I'll try not to digress too far, but in this process, Diane decided that all the donors, and I was going to, if we were inside, I was going to have you all stand up, but now it's really confusing. So being from Wisconsin, I just go, well, if you're familiar with the jump around at UW, well, you could ask them to do that, and they might be able to comply. Others would find it difficult. So I'm just going to ask the donors just first to raise their hand, just be acknowledged by all of you. And it's just terrific to see you here, and so many. We are missing John and Carol Harris, good friends of ours from up north. They just couldn't arrange for a jet pilot to assist them in flying down here. They're all dedicated to tomorrow's activities elsewhere, and so they're not here. But in this group of people, where Diane has brought confusion and difficulty into my life, was asking all or some of the people that donated their time and money to actually be part of the program to pour castings that were integrated in this piece. There's some 50 pieces making up this statue, not including the armature, which goes down into the ground some 6 feet, some 30 tons of concrete and sand and so forth. Hold it here. But these wonderful people came to the foundry, volunteered their time and their lives, as far as I could tell, to pouring sections of these castings, 2,000, sometimes 2,100 degrees of molten metal. It's not exceptionally large, but when you get around to 300 or 400 pounds of molten bronze, you know you're there. And so I have so many people that are on this plaque. I think they're between 12 and 15 that came into the foundry, some dressed inappropriately. David Luck. He shows up in tennis shoes and shorts, and I thought that was so casual. I just thought, well, let's hope he doesn't hurt himself. And Mike and Patty Greavy, who are here on behalf of the Bradley Foundation and weren't mentioned, I'd like to say hello and thank you. Mike and Patty provided probably the most expert guidance during our afternoon of pouring, except I'd maybe go overboard and say my daughter, Kylie, who because of the injury to my hand, had stepped in and volunteered to take over a lot of the duties and the difficulties that I encountered myself. And she helped pour both the President's head, which was the last casting. We kept the last piece with the most intense work going towards that, and the Al Alameин's casting, which was some 300 pounds. And for that, I'd like to thank her so much. Kylie, would you stand up? Thanks. Give us a wave. We're so proud of her. She did a lot of the textures on the shirt, the belt buckle, which is interesting. If you look around the statue, it's very interesting, the things that are there, and I'd like to come back to that and just say a few things about the various items that are incorporated in this casting. But the individuals that came to the foundry and actually put in their time and made the insurance underwriters really, really nervous. And the only luminaries that you might recognize would be Speaker Paul Ryan and Governor Scott Walker, they came down as well. I thought it'd be really, really bad publicity if we cooked any of them. And, so fortunately, God is, and perhaps and probably Mr. Reagan's been responsible for how well this casting has gone. I have never, ever, in the, I would say, millions of pounds of material that I've been present for pouring in foundries, have seen such absolutely perfect work come through. So there's something really mysterious about this. Anyway, I'd like to drop back a little bit and talk about some of the people that came in and just have you acknowledge them. Most of them are on the plaque here, and I'd just like them to wave, the ones that actually came to the foundry and poured with us. So there's Mike and Patty and Jim, and I see a whole bunch of you here, but they really are wonderful. These people have done something that so few people have ever. I don't know of another circumstance where a piece of artwork is generated in such a fashion. I will say that going back the generations to the Declaration of the Independence, that some 7 of the, or 17% of the signers were foundry people. So this is a distinguished profession. And you think that's appropriate, Mike? So we're a rough and tumble lot, but we see what's there in the real substance and character of America. And all of these individuals are really honoring us and are honored to have been part of this with us. We're so proud. I'd like to digress a little further and say that people always ask the most often are the questions about art that's either being purchased or looked at. They always look and they go, how much, how old, and how long? And if you haven't asked me those questions, I've got sort of standard answers. The how old is not how old the president is. We know he's 105 today. It's not about El Alamein, although I don't really know how old he was at this point. But it's about me. So I'm 66 years old, and yeah, your investments or collections will improve the sooner I tip over. So that's the answer to that one. So how much? And I don't know that it's not the value of anything that I can really put a hand on, other than to say the trucking shipment costs or insurance value for this is somewhere in the neighborhood, I think 1.675 M, and to get it here and in place and well. And so that's the how much, and that probably is a reflection of, I think it's probably just a reflection of insurance, and it doesn't show the true heart and the true value and the expense to the people that have supported me, my family, and this project. The last of it is, I think, how long, and I'm really embarrassed to say it's taken so long, but it really started 25 years ago, and that would be with Duke Blackwood. I don't know if Duke's around here. We came up here, I came up here just after my daughter was born, and we were showing off the small maquette for the project that's back in Illinois now. And I got a little quote here. It was, I think, first in the Trail series, Duke took a look at the maquette. He said, "Nice work, we'll take a large one, you find someone to pay for it." So fast forward, we're here with Diane and John Highbush, who represents the foundation and the commission I was given from both of them in this case to go forward. So proud to have that first project under my belt, because it was underfunded and we had to really put it together on a shoestring. This has had unlimited funds, unlimited support, and unlimited experience. And so the time that it's taken to complete this work has been well worth it. And it does seem like the perfect day, doesn't it? We've got the wind blowing behind the tail. If you'll see that it's shaped the direction of the tail and the mane, how auspicious. And some of the other things you'll find in this are from earlier works, which I call the Great American series. It's Great American portraits of people that are deserving. I can't think of anybody more deserving than President Reagan. And the small integration is an eagle head. And I'd just say go find it, but it's in the tail, so you can obviously track it down. It's there for kids. It's there for inspiration, for people challenging themselves and encountering this piece of work with the tangible understanding that they can be there too. It's part of the greatness of America. So I sat up last night and I wrote approximately 5 or 6 pages, as I mentioned. And they're here, but I've been able to jump ahead, not read most of this, and go through it. But as Governor Wilson pointed out, that there's so much invested inside this statue, which was, I think, a really great stroke of genius. It's like a talisman or a good luck charm, or it's part of the heart of the statue. On the exterior, we have the president wearing a cricket Vulcain watch. Do you know what those are? They're the watch of presidents. You learn these things if you find yourself in the predicament of understanding a complex museum quality item and figure and assignment. So he has the president's watch. He always wore it. President Reagan was a creature of habit. And you just look backwards in these photographs and you see so much of what he did on a daily basis. And I always looked at some of the things that we could integrate in this. One is the belt buckle he's wearing, not the one inside. And no, it's not a time capsule. We're not going to go inside and look at the stuff in about 10 years. I worry about the giant can opener, you know. And so he's got the belt buckle in front, and it was a turquoise and silver belt buckle that he wore, President Reagan wore, while Gorbachev was at the ranch. And I think it's a really emblematic piece. It's a really good-looking belt buckle to begin with. My daughter did that too. I'm real proud of that, Kylie. Thank you so much. And there's that little iconic piece of addition. He's wearing his 1941 boots and spurs. He liked those. As far as I know, that's what he wore. And so that's part of it. There are countless details which were researched. Joanne Drake, who has helped throughout this, has been just terrific. She's come back to Wisconsin, bad weather, good weather, whatever. Kathy Bush joined her. It has been a tremendous association. We have collaborated on every detail of this, and I feel comfortable about how it is now because we have looked at it in so many different lights in so many different ways. Anyway, we're hopeful that the statue will be accepted by you all, and especially Mrs. Reagan as a best ever portrait. For me, it is absolutely the best I could do. I do know it is fairly certain to be the best ever Alamein. I'm kind of counting that nobody's going to go after him this size again. And I probably need to just review a couple more things. There were I think we covered that. Governor Wilson covered the size and the weight of the casting, the secure footings. I do have a thing about the footings and so forth. You know, he's massively protected underground and so forth. He's not going to move, at least unless John Laney pulls him over or the curtain takes him away. But the California guarantee that I gave the library is based on Air Force One. If the ground shakes and Air Force One is over here, El Alamein and the president will be over here. If Air Force One is down there, this will be a hood ornament. So before concluding, I'd like to let my beautiful wife Linda know how for 35 years, I've loved everything about her and all that she has meant to me, and has made it absolutely possible for me to be here today. Thank you. And thank you all for coming. Please tell your friends how great the library and museum are, and to stop and take a picture of President Reagan as he and Alamein El Alamein walk along the trail. Thanks again to everybody here, and let's see if we can uncover this.
Thanks so much, Don. It's now time to share with all of you this magnificent new statue of President Reagan, Governor Wilson. Diane, Don, would you please come forward and we'll unveil the statue.
Okay, on three. Okay, 1, 2, 3.